Hey there, it's John from Living the Music. Today we're continuing our series of looking at the Montrose albums from the 1970s. We're up to 1976's Jump on It. Yes, that was the cover. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but this album comes on the heels of three previous albums, none of which really reached the success level that anyone was looking for. They started off with this hard-rocking, bright, powerful sound on the first Montrose debut with Sammy Hagar on vocals, Ronnie Montrose on guitar, Denny Carmassi on drums, Bill Church on bass. That does okay, but it's bubbling under the top 100 on Billboard. If they would have stayed with that sound, who knows? They might have broken through. But Ronnie decides to change things up. He gets rid of the bass player, brings in a new guy, Alan Fitzgerald, who also can play keyboards. He sidelines Sammy as a writer to some extent. He brings in outside writers. He decides to do a vocal by himself. He decides to do an instrumental. So Paper Money's a much more eclectic album. It does better in the charts probably on the momentum of the first album. You know, just even though the first album didn't rise up the charts very high, I think the word of mouth probably got around, and also they were quite good as a live band, so the word spread and people were probably a little bit excited for that Paper Money album. So that went to, I think, 65 in the charts. But Ronnie and Sammy couldn't get along. Their egos clashed. Sammy was gone after that album. 1975, Ronnie regroups, brings in this new guy from Los Angeles, Bob James. He keeps Alan Fitzgerald, but this time he's only on bass. He brings in another guy to augment the sound, Jim Alcivar. He plays keys and synthesizer. You still got Denny on drums, and did I say, yeah, Bob James on vocals from Los Angeles. Ronnie produces that album by himself, so still exerting all kinds of control. That album goes down a bit. I think I was in the 70s in the Billboard chart, and no hits again. It's another killer album in my view, although there's a couple duds on there too. So I've done reviews of all of these albums and talked about the history of the band up until this point. You can go back through my channel and see those, but for now we're here in 1976. They're searching for success. They bring in Jack Douglas to produce the album, maybe at the behest of the record company, who knows, but they decamp to New York City at the record plant where Jack is comfortable, and they get started on these tracks. Now, they made another change, though. They got rid of the bass player altogether. So Alan Fitzgerald is out, and they don't bring in anybody new. They do bring in a session player for 3 of the tracks, which we'll talk about, but this has 8 tracks total, so on 5 of them, there's no bass player. You got the keyboardist doing bass parts on the synthesizer. So you be the judge how that worked. Interesting idea, I suppose. Again, they're going for a commercial sound here, and yet, as you'll see when we go through the tracks, they just can't quite help themselves but to be creative and to be eclectic. So I think this had a hard time competing with the likes of Boston, Foreigner, Journey. Whether or not those big albums had come out by the time this came out, that kind of sound was starting to roll, that AOR commercial rock sound. In some ways, you could see Montrose searching for that, and in a couple of songs, maybe getting pretty close to it, but as an overall vision of an album, it maybe falls a little bit short. So we'll talk about it. We'll come back to the cover a little bit later. Now, they start off the album, side A, track 1, with a song called Let's Go, Let's Go. This is a nice rocker, powerful way to open the album. It's kind of, mid-tempo-ish, but pounding drums. Got great slide playing from Ronnie on here. It's a simplistic lyric, but Bob delivers a really powerful vocal. It's credited to the whole band. Whether that's justified, who knows? Probably Ronnie mainly wrote the riffs and Bob wrote the lyrics, but I guess can't complain to credit everybody, because I'm sure everybody contributed to something. If nothing else, the performance and to an extent the arrangement. So that's a really good opener. It makes you optimistic for what's going to come. Then you go into track 2. What are you waiting for? This is an interesting track. This is written by Dan Hartman, who was a solo act, but he had been in Edgar Winter Group with Ronnie before he started Montrose in the early 70s. They had big success with songs like Free Ride and Frankenstein. So Ronnie drafts him in to deliver this song and one other that we'll talk about. What are you waiting for? Catchy tune. Great delivery by Bob. At this point, you're thinking, I'm liking this album. This is pretty cool. It's different. It has like a sheen to it, a pop sheen to it. It's only jarring in the sense that it hasn't been that way on the other albums, but you're liking it. You're liking it. Then they go into a left turn on track 3 with an instrumental called Tough Sledge. I like it. It's kind of a sludgy sort of song, kind of tribal in nature. It's kind of based on a keyboard riff that keeps going and expanding. Interesting sort of bongo playing on it by Denny. It's a nice interlude, but again, if you're trying to produce something highly commercial and successful on the charts, I'm not sure you throw in this left turn on the 3rd track. In any case, all these years later, I still enjoy it. So now, going to track 4, you got Music Man. So this is somewhat of a big show-stopping song. Tremendous classic Ronnie Montrose solo here. Top of his game. Love what he does on this. This is credited to Ronnie solely. Bob claims that he helped with the lyrics on this. I don't doubt it. But overall, powerful tune. This was, I think, the first single from the album. Didn't go anywhere, but it could have. This one, to me, has the magic of being a powerful single. Not only is it very catchy, but also is kind of emotional. I'm not sure why this didn't click for the vast majority of people, but valiant try by the guys. Then you flip the album over, you start side 2 with a bang with the title track, Jump On It. This again is credited to the whole band. Probably you got Bob and Ronnie, writing the main riff and the lyrics. This is about jumping on life, kind of, you want something, you have a dream, jump on it. Like a lion jumps on its prey, you got to jump on your dreams and go for it. So that's a nice positive message, which I appreciate, and it's got a real thumping drum part on it. Not anything super deep in the lyrics, but it's a cool tune. I think this one wouldn't be out of place on the first album. It might be close to upper tier Montrose. So powerful opening to the second side. Then you go into track 2, which is called Rich Man. Now this is the second and last one written by Dan Hartman for this album. I like this song a lot. This is a ballad, a quieter ballad, relatively, kind of sensitive song, sensitively sung by Bob. Very nice. I got no problem with Rich Man. I mean, it's a little bit sappy, you could say, but I don't mind that if it's catchy and they're putting their heart into it, so it works for me. Then you go to track 3 on side 2, which is Crazy for You. This is written by Ronnie, and he brings over this woman, Lauren Wood. She went by an anonymous or a writing name, Chunky Rappaport. She was in this interestingly named group. What were they called? Chunky, Novi, and Ernie. They did 2 or 3 albums with Warner Brothers, and they had written one of the songs on Paper Money, Underground, which is a really cool track. So she comes over. I think she probably helps on the lyrics for Crazy for You. This is probably my least favorite on the album. It's somewhat generic, if you ask me. It doesn't go anywhere. That dynamic, in the progression of the song, it's not bad. And it's always going to be good when you got Ronnie Montrose on it. You got Denny Carmassi. Bob does a fine job of singing it. It's just not a standout kind of track. See for yourself. Maybe you disagree, but that's my view on it. And then we end side 2 and we end the album with a song called Merry-Go-Round. This is credited to Ronnie himself. Bob says he helped with the lyrics on this. So who knows what kind of arrangement was made there, but I like this song a lot. Very catchy. It's got a cool breakdown section in it, and eventually it goes into this sort of sound effect kind of thing from being at a fair and going on a ride and the Ferris wheel and all that kind of stuff, and then you're popped right back into the verse or the chorus of the song, and that's pretty powerful transition. I dig that, and I really do like Bob's voice on this song. This is a kind of a progressive rock kind of song. It's not an epic because it's not long, but it's got that progressive sort of Rush kind of feel to it, to me. So there we have it. Those are the 8 songs on this album. They went with Hypnosis on the album cover. Hypnosis, famous, design company, especially in the 70s. They did Led Zeppelin albums, Pink Floyd. They did... if not officially, one of the guys who worked there did Wings, one of the Wings albums, or a couple of the Wings albums. Many more than I'm even mentioning now. They did a lot of album covers, UFO, lots of them. So they told this guy, the band told the guy that they were looking for something that would really be striking and kind of express the idea of Jump on It. I'm not sure how he landed on this. I in this book, they talk with the designer, and he says something about it being artistic, and does he use the word subtle? I don't even remember, but I remember thinking he's lost a little bit of perspective on this. I don't think of this as subtle. I don't really think of it as very artistic. I think it strikes many people as sort of just really inappropriate, blatant sexism. It's just the female anatomy. I get that, but we don't have to be prudes. But at the same time, I just think you could do a lot better than this as the album cover. There's the backside, in case you literally and figuratively, there's the backside, just so you don't miss that. They have perfectly nice pictures of the band here. Maybe that should have been the cover, really. I don't know if it's meaningful or not, but they're seemingly not in this picture at the same time. Those are 4 separate pictures, but nice looking guys, right? And I think that might have sold more albums than this. I don't know, but they were back down the charts, back beyond the hundreds in they were bubbling over 100, so to speak, in the charts for this one. The singles didn't go anywhere, so the seeds were kind of sown for the demise of the band. But let's talk about the tour for a little bit. They did go out on tour. They were managed by Bill Graham, legendary producer of the Bay Area. Montrose was living in the Bay Area, and I think that was kind of the hub of the band. The point is, because of Bill, they had some connections to good tour opportunities. So I think maybe they were touring with Kiss and big acts like that. So they were an opening band, and probably a pretty good opening band that would get the crowd going, but they weren't so well known that they would blow the headlining band away. In any case, they went out on tour with no bass player. By the way, I think I mentioned I would tell you what tracks he played on. They brought in a bass player for the sessions on 3 tracks, and that's Let's Go, Jump on It, and Rich Man. So the 2 big rockers, and then Rich Man, they brought in Randy Joe Hobbs to play bass. But apparently he was, at that time, just kind of like a session musician in New York. They decided not to ask him to go on tour, and Ronnie was apparently intrigued by the idea of having the keyboards do the bass, and he didn't have another person to compete with for the stage, I guess. Which turns out to be important in the world of Ronnie Montrose, because apparently, just like with Sammy Hagar, he would have meetings with Bob where he would tell him, here's a line on the stage, this is my side of the stage, don't come over on my side of the stage, you stay over there. So, Ronnie, he had an ego for sure, and he wanted to be the star of this band. Apparently, he demanded that the white spotlight of the lights would only be on him and would never be shown on the singer Bob. He could get blue light, but not the white light. These are just kind of little, you could say, petty things that might have enhanced Ronnie's ego, I suppose, but I don't see how it really enhances the band chemistry nor the band's delivery to the fans, So I'm not sure what he was thinking there. And also, as this book tells us, amazingly, by this tour, they weren't playing many of the Sammy songs from the first couple albums. You would think they'd be all over the tunes from the first album, because those were real show-stopping tunes. But no, you don't get it. They kind of, I don't know exactly what the set list was, but they say they just kind of dropped those from the set list. It just seems like a lot of shooting themselves in the feet over there in Montrose land in 1976. They play a final show on New Year's Eve, I think, and soon after that, Bob goes back to L.A., calls up Ronnie and says, I'm out. I don't want to do this anymore. I quit. Ronnie apparently says, you do what you have to do. Doesn't try to sweet talk him back into it. And from there, he doesn't have the heart to keep going with the band. Now, in the next year or so, he gets it together to do his first solo album, which is also on Warner Brothers, which all the Montrose albums were on Warner Brothers. So I kind of wonder if he had a deal for another album that was supposed to be a Montrose album that he somehow turned into a Ronnie Montrose solo album. So maybe we'll get to that in another video. But for now, that brings us to the close of the band Montrose in the 70s. They would revive later in the 80s, which we may talk about also at some point. But for the first run of the band and kind of, you know, the real heart of the story of Montrose, it lasted a few short years from 1973 till the end of 1976. But again, I think you got some good albums out of it. Jump On It is another one. If you like Ronnie's music at all, or even if you just kind of like 70s rock with some tasty guitar playing, like if you really enjoy guitar heroes but not shredding sort of, but just really tasty playing, like in the vein of Jeff Beck or Clapton or Robin Trower, then you may like albums like this. Where would I rank this? I'm not sure. Let's see. I mean, I have to say the first Montrose is the best of the four, but I'm such a crazy Montrose fan, I don't always go to that one when I want to listen to his stuff. I love playing Paper Money. I love Warner Brothers Presents, and I love Jump On It for different reasons. I kind of feel those are very, very similar in terms of my appreciation and enjoyment level. Maybe at some point I'll try to look at it more objectively and give you a ranking. But for now, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here, as always, a part of Living the Music. We love doing these videos for you and, of course, for our own enjoyment. And until next time, let's keep rocking. All right, take care.